Hello everyone and welcome to listen to a book every day. I'm Zoe. Today, we're going to share the book, The Art of Asking Questions, How to Discover the Right Solutions Through Inquiry, written by Michael Marquardt. Marquardt is a professor at George Washington University in the U.S. and also the president of the International Society for Action Learning. His expertise lies in human resource research, with a focus on developing leadership capabilities. In this field, he has authored nearly 20 professional books and published over 100 academic articles, earning numerous awards such as the annual Outstanding International Practice Award from the American Society for Training and Development. He currently serves as a senior advisor to the United Nations Institute for Training and Research in the areas of policy, technology and learning systems, while also providing consulting services to Fortune 500 companies like Boeing, IBM and Microsoft, as well as institutions including the International Monetary Fund, the U.S. Department of Defense, and the Department of Health and Human Services. This book encapsulates his recommendations for becoming an exceptional leader, drawn from years of practice. Specifically, it explores a key question: how can we become outstanding leaders by asking others questions? The author refers to this approach as inquiry-based leadership, meaning that when facing problems, leaders don't need to handle everything personally or make decisions alone. Instead, they ask team members questions to stimulate their thinking, inspire mutual learning, and encourage the sharing of perspectives, thereby collectively finding solutions. How exactly does this work? We'll break it down into 3 parts today. First, why should leaders use questioning as a management tool? Second, how can we ask good questions? Third, how can good questions be transformed into workplace productivity? Let's start with the first part. Why use questioning for leadership? Before diving into this, let's consider a scenario. Suppose your company has 2 leaders. The first is extremely decisive, with rich experience and strong capabilities. Whenever you have a problem, he immediately tells you what to do, laying out clear, step-by-step instructions. Not only can he solve the issues you present, but he also anticipates problems you haven't even noticed. He's undoubtedly a responsible and capable leader. The second leader, however, never gives direct answers in meetings or when you ask for help. Instead, he always responds with more questions. What do you think? Do you have any good ideas? How do you plan to handle this? Which leader do you prefer? Most of us might say the first one. After all, leaders are supposed to support and help employees. We ask because we want to know the answer. The second leader seems to pass the buck and can provide quick guidance. This feels like a lack of leadership. If you were to become a team leader someday, would you want to be the first type, giving direct answers, or the second, always asking questions? If you chose the first, you might want to reconsider, because the author strongly disagrees. Why does the author argue that a leader who gives direct guidance, despite seeming competent, is not truly excellent? While this leadership style appears effective in the short term, it leads to severe long-term problems. From the leader's perspective, constantly providing answers fosters a command dependency, seeing oneself as the sole provider of solutions. This traps the leader in a firefighting role, preventing them from fulfilling their core responsibility of overseeing the bigger picture. Moreover, when leaders get used to handing out answers, they often lose touch with on-the-ground realities, leaving solutions vulnerable to hidden flaws. Is having such a leader beneficial for employees? The answer is no. On one hand, if leaders provide all the answers, employees develop answer dependency, gradually losing the motivation to try solving problems on their own and making slow progress. On the other hand, employees become passive. The leader has more experience and ability. He must have thought of everything I can and more. I just need to follow his instructions. No need to think further. Once leaders form the habit of commanding rather than questioning, it harms both themselves and their teams, and may even cripple organizational development. Take the well-known 1986 Challenger space shuttle disaster. 73 seconds after launch, the shuttle exploded, killing all 7 astronauts on board. The direct cause was a faulty O-ring seal. Its performance deteriorated at high temperatures, leading to gas leakage and fuel tank explosion. While such a complex project might seem prone to overlook details, the truth is shocking. The manufacturer of the O-rings had discovered the defect 2 years earlier. Extensive testing confirmed that the O-ring risks escalated sharply when temperatures dropped below 11.7 C. Yet Challenger launched on a day when temperatures were only 2 CY. Proceed despite unsafe conditions? The problem lay in the decision-maker's habit of making arbitrary calls rather than asking questions. Some assumed minor issues would be addressed in such a major project. Others had resolved to raise concerns that morning but lost the courage in the meeting, thinking, the decision-makers have more experience. I should speak up in front of everyone. A known safety hazard went unaddressed, resulting in tragedy. Similar disasters abound. The sinking of the Titanic was not entirely an accident. Designers and shipbuilders questioned the hull structure during construction, but no one dared voice their due BTS to leaders. In 1961, when President Kennedy decided to authorize the Bay of Pigs invasion of Cuba, experts present thought the plan was severely flawed, yet no one spoke out. The result: 1,400 U.S. invaders were overwhelmed, with 1,200 surrendering and the rest killed. Why do team members stay silent, even when they spot problems? A key reason is that leaders fail to establish a mechanism for inquiry and fact-finding. The belief that good leaders make all decisions themselves is dangerous. Even the most capable leaders have limited experience. Frontline issues often escape their attention amid administrative tasks, making their decisions risky. Sometimes, the team already has a perfect solution, but the leader never finds out. The book shares an example. Leaders at a garment factory held meetings to solve a persistent quality issue with a bathrobe design. They tried countless methods but failed. Meanwhile, a young production supervisor's assistant, overhearing their discussion outside the door, thought, if only they asked me. I work with frontline workers every day and know how to fix this. But no one ever asked her. The problem plagued the company, causing heavy losses. This experience deeply affected her. If I become a leader someday, I'll never assume I have all the answers. I'll find ways to unleash my team's initiative. She later became a CEO and attributed her rise from the grassroots to one key principle: trusting and tapping into the abilities of subordinates and colleagues. Management guru Peter Drucker once said, leaders of the past might only need to give orders and instructions, but future leaders must be good at asking questions. In today's fiercely competitive society, organizations face increasingly complex problems. No one can master all the knowledge and information needed to solve them alone. Michael Dell, founder and CEO of Dell, values the power of questioning. Asking more questions opens the door to new ideas and perspectives, ultimately enhancing our organization's competitiveness. So, if you are a leader, stop relying solely on your experience to manage through commands. Instead, focus on your colleagues and team members. Use questions to help everyone explore better solutions. This brings us to the second part. Since we need to manage through questioning, how do we ask good questions? Many people think questioning is easy. We do it every day, but the key isn't whether we ask questions or how many we ask. It's whether our questions are good ones. What makes a good question? In the author's view, a good question is an effective one. Questions generally fall into two categories: effective and ineffective, and most of us usually ask ineffective ones. What's an ineffective question? Think about this. Have you ever been asked, "Why did this happen? Why didn't you follow the project timeline?" Or "Why didn't you report this to your leader earlier?" When a project falls behind or a mistake occurs, how do these questions make you feel? Anxious, defensive, eager to justify yourself? Questions that trigger anxiety, tension, or evasion are ineffective. The asker might just want to understand the situation, but the listener perceives blame or threat. This breeds negativity, silences honest feedback, and makes collaborative problem solving impossible. How to ask effective questions? The author offers a simple test. Does the question empower others or disempower them? Empowerment vs. disempowerment is the key to judging effectiveness. The questions above are disempowering. They undermine confidence and initiative. One of the most famous empowering questions was posed by President John F. Kennedy in his inaugural address. Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. This short question inspired an entire generation of Americans to rethink their values, embrace generosity over greed, and act with purpose. An effective, empowering question fosters positivity and motivates action. With this in mind, leaders or team members should avoid disempowering questions like, "Why is the project delayed?" or "Why did you make a mistake?" Instead, ask empowering ones. What do you think is the main issue with the project right now? Did you face any confusion when we drafted the plan earlier? Which parts of the work do you think will be easier to complete next? And which will be harder? What support does the team need to help you solve this problem? Hearing these questions makes you more eager to find solutions and share openly, right? Pam Iorio, former mayor of Tampa, Florida, led her team through questioning. She often had team members ask themselves two questions. First, what can I do to help others become better leaders? This helped them realize their work wasn't just for themselves, but to foster growth in others, keeping their minds balanced. Second, will you forgive everyone you've met in life? This built team cohesion. Workplace conflicts and misunderstandings are inevitable, and forgiveness strengthens collaboration. These two questions were the backbone of her leadership. Good questions also build trust with employees. When an employee comes to you with a problem, don't rush to answer. Instead, use these three questions from the author. 1. How can I help you? Even though they're seeking help, this question makes them feel respected and clarifies their own needs. Often, people just want leadership support to implement their own ideas. 2. What do you plan to do? This encourages them to find solutions themselves. Answering this often reveals gaps in their thinking or sparks the answer outright. 3. What would others do? For example, what would your competitor do? Or what would your leader do? This pushes them to think from new angles, where better solutions often lie. In most cases, after these three questions, employees will find their own answers confident and motivated to act. These are classic examples of empowering questions. Sometimes, questions might risk hurting someone's pride or making them uncomfortable. The author advises, be honest. If you are unsure if a question is appropriate, say so directly. I'm not sure how to ask this, and I didn't know if it's appropriate, but I really want to understand what caused this issue at work. This eases resistance. Your honesty signals that you want to tackle the problem together, not find a scapegoat. Giving team members the courage to face challenges. Asking good questions is crucial for leaders, but it's not enough. To be truly excellent, leaders must also turn good questions into workplace productivity. This is our third topic. The author notes that while questioning is the core of inquiry-based leadership, two key steps are needed to make it effective: active listening and follow-through. First, active listening. We focus on improving our questioning skills, but forget that questioning depends On listening, imagine this scenario. A meeting reveals that a major client owes your company an unexpected large amount, so large that the company's survival is at stake. The team must unite to recover the debt. As a leader, what would you do? You might rally the team, assign tasks, and outline roles heroic, decisive, and inspiring. But the author argues a better approach is to gather everyone and ask, what do you think about this situation? How do you feel? And what ideas do you have? What solutions do you propose? After everyone shares their worries and suggestions, you can offer your own thoughts for reference. In the first approach, you might propose a good solution, but you will never know your team's concerns or if they have better ideas. Execution may suffer from low morale or poor alignment. In the second approach, everyone's worries and perspectives are fully expressed, and the team trusts the strategy they've co-created. This strengthens collective adaptability. By listening to others, you ask better questions, and better questions drive productivity. As Peter Drucker put it, the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. As a leader, don't interrupt employees or solve problems for them. Listen carefully and create conditions for them to solve problems independently. That's the power of active listening. Second, follow through. Why is this critical? Everyone who answers your questions honestly and thoughtfully deserves to know how their input will be used. As the author writes, if we ask questions but take no action, others will soon see us as insincere and untrustworthy, and we'll eventually get stuck. Once employees think your questions are just a formality, you will never hear genuine feedback again. An entrepreneur, the author interviewed, put it this way: acting on others' answers is airword for them. We need to give feedback and take action so they see the impact of their input. Captain Michael Abrash of the U.S. Navy is a master of inquiry-based leadership who combined active listening and follow through to achieve remarkable results. Let's look at his achievements. As captain of the USS Benfold, one of the U.S. Navy's newest warships, he spent only 75% of the budget in 20 months, saving $1.4 million. Meanwhile, his ship set Pacific Fleet records in all operational metrics. The typical deployment training cycle took 52 days, but his crew did it in 19. Normally, 1/3 of new recruits left before completing their first tour, and only 54% stayed for the second. On the Benfold, 100% stayed. Promotions among his crew were 2.5 times the Navy average. How did he do it? In his own words, I just kept asking questions, listening carefully, and acting on what I heard. Unlike most new leaders who burn 3 fires, make quick changes, Abrashoff issued no new orders. Instead, he held 5-15-minute one-on-one talks with all 300+ crew members, asking 3 questions. 1. What do you like most about this ship? 2. What do you like least? 3. If you could change one thing, what would it be? These questions revealed severe flaws in existing workflows, prompting a complete overhaul. Whenever an officer or sailor came to him for approval or a signature, his first question was, why do we do it this way? When better solutions emerged, he adopted them immediately, letting the team see their ideas mattered. These simple actions transformed the warship. This is a model example of building inquiry-based leadership through questioning. To summarize the book's score points: first, we used to think leaders exist to solve problems and give guidance, but the author argues this is risky. Everyone has limited experience. Only by unleashing the wisdom of frontline employees can teams become truly effective. And this starts with questioning. Second, good questions are the foundation. A good question is an effective one, judged by whether it empowers or disempowers. Only by asking empowering questions can you motivate your team to seek better solutions. Third, knowing what good questions are isn't enough. You must also practice active listening to understand others' concerns. then take follow-through action. This shows you value their input and turn it into practice. Only then can you truly build inquiry-based leadership. One final note. The art of asking questions explores how a small habit, asking good questions, influences management and organizational performance. But beyond the methods above, critical thinking is essential for asking good questions. Our channel previously covered asking the right questions, a classic on building critical thinking through questioning. If you are interested, check out that episode. Congratulations on finishing another book. This is the 36th book I've shared with you. See you next time.